Hi guys, thinking of arranging your first motorcycle tour? Stick around, we're going to give you our top 10 beginner tips for motorcycle touring. So, you've got the bike, you've got the drive, you want to arrange your first motorcycle tour. So what follows in no particular order, based on what we've learnt from our mistakes and what we've seen other people make mistakes of, is our top 10 beginner motorcycle touring tips. So, starting at number 1, carrying too much. The adage that a lot of people use is bigger is better. They want the biggest CCs they can get. They want the biggest panniers they can get. They want to make their bikes look like this. But don't forget, people have travelled around the world with a minimum of stuff. People have travelled around the world successfully on Honda C90s. So, think about it. Don't carry too much. Carry what you need. Carrying too much is going to make your fuel bill go up because fuel consumption will go up. It's going to make your high speed and low speed handling worse, which makes the bike less enjoyable to ride. And it's also going to mean manoeuvring it around tight car parks when you're parking for the evening, trying to lock your bike up, and to manoeuvre it into tight spaces, maybe on the ferry when you're trying to tie that bike down, is going to be more difficult. We always see people bring things out of a pannier when we get to where we're stopping for the evening. I've seen people bring out dress shirts. I've seen people bring out smart pants or fancy dresses. Think about it, shorts and t-shirt or maybe a pair of jeans is going to be okay for most evenings, and for most of the trip you should be wearing your motorcycle kit anyway. So think about it, pack, give it a couple of days, take the stuff you've packed out, take a look through it, and anything you don't think you need, take out. So tip number 1, pack light. Number 2, get that pre-trip maintenance done. If you are leaving and your chain and sprockets look like this, you're probably going to be storing a problem for the trip. Now, there is nothing that you can do to 100% guarantee that your motorcycle is not going to break down or give you trouble on a trip. The very nature of it is, no matter how well prepared, something can happen. But we can reduce the likelihood of that. So starting with consumables, does your chain have enough life left in it? Are your chain and sprockets in good condition? Is there enough adjustability for the mileage you're doing? Do the tyres, are they squared off? Do they have enough mileage left in them? Is there enough tread? You know, at worst, a fine or a safety issue even. So checking your tyres, checking your brake pads, because obviously if we're going at speed we want to be able to stop, so checking those. Has it had an oil change? And when you're riding that bike for maybe the 6 months up to that trip, any little symptoms you're getting that you would usually ignore, maybe, make sure you're staying on top of those. So anything you think needs doing, get it done. That'll mean it's a safer bike, it's a better handling bike, it's a bike with the power it should have, and your trip is going to be more enjoyable and it's going to be safer. So number 2, do that pre-tour maintenance. Number 3, maintenance on the road. Okay, not everyone has a massive mechanical skills and not everybody is going to be carrying enough tools to do major work on the side of the road should anything happen. But there are a certain set of things that we should all be able to do on the road and we should be preparing for on that trip. So things like carrying a puncture repair kit and practicing to use it on an old tyre before you leave home. That means you're not going to get left stranded. Do you know how to adjust your chain? Do you have the tools to do it? Making sure you've got enough lubricant either for your chain oiler. We use Scott oilers. We've always had a lot of success with Scott oilers, but or your other chain lubes, or maybe things like a can of lube which maybe sprays on or brushes on. Doing things each day, like checking the oil, making sure you're checking your coolant, checking your tyre pressures, a good tyre pressure gauge. They're not that expensive. I've just picked up a really good one from Ben Hill, was about £14, but again, that is a safety issue and it's going to make your bike handle so much better and give you a longer life out of the tyres. Maybe even every couple of days doing things like a quick check, maybe checking for play in the wheels, making sure none of the potholes, if you're in a worse set of roads, have maybe damaged that wheel. So as we say, Assuming you've got a chain driven bike, then all of that will be relevant to you, but still things like the oil, the coolant, the wheel bearings, even if you're on a shaft driven bike, is still going to be important. Okay, so number 3, on the road maintenance. Leading into number 4, do a dry run. Finalise the setup that you want to take in terms of luggage and in terms of what you want to carry. And as well as that, finish all your pre-tour maintenance, and then maybe book a weekend away. Over a weekend away, you will make sure that no funny warning lights come up on the dashboards or your bike doesn't behave how it shouldn't, and you can check all the maintenance you've done. At least then, if there's any problems, it will happen closer to home than maybe when you are overseas. You don't want that happening when your bike leaves the ferry on the other side and you're somewhere where it's going to be harder to deal with. As well as that, your luggage setup, is it too heavy? Can you maneuver the bike with it on? Maybe that rucksack that seemed really comfortable because that's the way you chose to tour, maybe that starts digging into your shoulders. Maybe that big tail pack that you thought was a great idea starts digging into your back, or the backpack and the tail pack don't have enough room in between them. So however you're going to tour, whatever you're going to carry, whatever maintenance you've done, there you go, a nice dry run to make sure that you find those issues before you get on your main tour. Number 5, picking the right mileage. When you're planning this trip, you're probably sitting in work, or you've probably just got home from work, and all you really want to do is get out on your bike and do as many mileages as possible. The reason that a lot of us do this is not just because we enjoy travelling, but we love the experience of travelling on a bike. I still think travelling on a bike is the best way to meet people, is the best way to see the scenery. It is the best way to travel, okay? But picking the right mileage is a big part of how much you will enjoy that. 300 miles as a limit seems great, but that might be perfectly suitable if you're on a motorway. Be prepared to be flexible. What happens if that day has a lot of small roads or a lot of gravel roads? Maybe 120 miles is more achievable, because 300 miles on 2 different roads is not the same. Also as well, be thinking, do I really want to be setting myself a high mileage limit every single day? Maybe on one day there is something really interesting that I want to see that I'm going to have to shoot past and miss. I won't get to experience it on the trip if I've got large mileages to do. So maybe be thinking short mileages on some days where there's more interesting things, or maybe some slower roads or worse quality roads. And then it's fine on other days to up the mileage when we're maybe just eating mileages on motorways or auto routes. Mileages links us nicely onto number 6, which is rest days. People who are newer to motorcycle trips tend to not plan rest days in. They decide it's a motorcycle trip and they decide that what they really want to do is that they want to ride every single day. Now think about it. If this is your first trip, you might be tired on that trip. Maybe if you've been getting up early every single day to cover the mileages you need to cover, this is a great opportunity for maybe a little bit of a lie-in, a more restful day, maybe just to use the facilities of the hotel that you're staying in. You might be halfway through the trip, maybe there is washing to be done, maybe you need to wash your clothes so you've got clean clothes. So maybe at the campsite or the hotel or whatever, wash those clothes, you've got a day to leave them out to dry before you get in. Maybe that's the day to do your proper bike check, to be doing the on-tour maintenance that we've mentioned previously. Okay, and it is a great way as well, if there is something really interesting, an opportunity, plan those rest days where there is something, so you can ditch your stuff on the bike and maybe go into the local city or see the interesting stuff, or to potentially go for a long walk or do an activity. Maybe you want to go and do hiking, or maybe you want to go and do kayaking, or that's the day for a helicopter trip or something on the tour. So those rest days are essential. You don't have to have loads of them, but some of them are going to make your motorcycle trip more restful, more manageable and more enjoyable. Number 7, go with the right people. There is nothing worse than going on a motorcycle tour with people that you don't gel with. Some people that you may have always thought are your best friends, well, maybe they don't gel with you on a motorcycle trip. There's no coincidence that a lot of us find a set of people that we tour with, and we tend to tour with a lot. I've been touring with my dad now for 22 years, with my wife for about 14 years, and our friends that you'll see on this channel quite a lot, Gary and Alison, we've been touring with them for about 12 years now. And the reason is we all enjoy touring the same way. We all roughly enjoy the same types of roads. We all enjoy the earlier start. We all enjoy getting into the hotel earlier in the evening. We all enjoy the same type of places and roughly the same speed of the trip. And we like, you know, having breaks during the day and rest days. If someone comes on who maybe wants to do more or less mileages than you do, maybe they like to sit in the bar of an evening while you like to explore, it's going to make your trip worse, and they're going to be spending money going on a trip where maybe they don't want the same thing as you. So whenever we're adding new people to the group, we sit them down, we have a conversation, we tell them the way that we do it, and if they like it, then they're more than welcome to come with us. But obviously, it's out of respect for them and respect for us that we have to find people that like to do it a similar way. So make sure you tour with the right people. And who are the right people? The people that want the same thing from the trip that you do. Number 8, preparing for the temperatures that you are going to be riding through. Now, this doesn't matter whether you are going to be going through a really cold country, maybe experiencing even minus temperatures, or going to a really warm country when you are experiencing maybe temperatures in the 40s to 50 degrees. And we've ridden through quite a lot of each. So making sure you've got things like good thermal layers when it's cold, making sure you layer up is really good. But we tend to be better than that because in our experience, a lot of people on their first trip will tend to carry a lot of warm clothing with them. Where the real danger tends to fall is when the temperatures get hotter. So things like making sure that if you are going to be going somewhere warm, you have a means of carrying some form of water, some form of drinks with you. So making sure you've got a large bottle that you can carry somewhere on the bike that's easily accessible, or potentially a Camelback and maybe drinking from that. If it's not easily accessible, you will not be bothered drinking it, you will not stop and you will not drink it, and therefore you will become dehydrated, and that's when concentration drops. So when the trip becomes more strenuous, and it's also when potential accidents can happen. Other things like making sure you have a hat with you, making sure you can cover the back of your neck, your ears, and for some of us more importantly than others, I do appreciate that, the top of your head. There is nothing worse than having sunburn in those areas, and for the next 10 days of the trip you've got to pull that motorcycle helmet down. Okay, so making sure you are keeping yourself well protected from the sun, away from sunburn, and again that will minimize fatigue. Okay, also things like wearing the right sort of stuff underneath your motorcycle clothing, and making sure your motorcycle clothing has the right either thermal layers for the cold temperatures or the venting systems for hot temperatures. It is possible to get a motorcycle jacket that is good in each. For instance, at the moment I'm running a Revit Sand 2 jacket, and I found that is exceptional with its various layers for various temperatures. Okay, so remember, prepare for the temperature you're going to be riding in. Leads us to number 9, waterproofs. Okay, there are a lot of people out there that say they have found through fancy linings and all trade names a 100% waterproof set of motorcycle clothing. I personally have never ever found a solution, no matter what I have used, that is always 100% guaranteed to be waterproof, that is not just a nice cheap waterproof oversuit. So everyone makes them, Alpine Stars, Revit, all the makes make a waterproof suit. Some of them can be found for as little as £15 at like a motorcycle show, and the budget goes up from there. Okay, put on over your regular motorcycle clothing. They are going to keep you waterproof, they are going to keep you more comfortable. As well as that, if it gets cold, they're also going to be a great layer against that cold icy air, and they're going to keep you waterproof. Okay, they're going to be part of a good layering system. So what I would recommend is having those with you, so a good set of cheap waterproofs. Finally, insurance. So falling into 3 areas: your travel insurance, your motorcycle insurance, and your breakdown insurance. So first of all, travel insurance. Make sure that it covers you for what you want to do. A lot of bank accounts, a lot of credit card accounts come with free travel insurance, and we see people go away assuming that it's going to cover them. Upon investigation, for instance, my credit card covers me on travel insurance for riding a 125cc maximum for a maximum of 7 days per trip. So going away on my 1000 V-Strom is not going to be covered. And riding down to Croatia or somewhere like that for 3 weeks, again, is not going to be covered. So make sure that it is going to cover the bike you're on and the mileage you've got, and be very, very honest about any medical conditions you may be carrying in case you need it. A lot of people say it won't happen to me. A few years ago, unfortunately, not as part of a motorcycle accident but as part of something else, my wife did have to use the American medical facilities, and the bill was... and you can imagine how much of a pain that would have been had we not had good medical insurance. So the first one is good travel insurance. The next one, your bike insurance. Do not assume it is going to cover all of the countries that you are going through. A few years ago, I investigated a trip we were going on. One of the countries we were going to was not covered. A quick phone call to the underwriter and a small additional premium led to me being covered in that country. In all the various other countries, you are going to need to maybe purchase it at the border. Maybe that's if you're going further afield and being particularly ambitious for your first trip. But just check where you are covered for, and be making sure that in your T's and C's for your motorcycle insurance company, it doesn't say something like you have to let them know before you go to be covered. Making sure you are 100% covered, because the worst comes to the worst, that is going to cost you a lot of money, and even on a minor side it might just gain you a fine in the country you're riding through. Finally, breakdown cover. Now hopefully this is one of those ones we are not going to need if we've done our pre-tour maintenance and we've doing our on-tour maintenance like we've mentioned. We might not need it, and some of you may even have it included as far as your motorcycle cover goes. So for instance, I know my dad, through Carol Nash, he actually has his covered. But when you are going to do it, make sure it covers the countries you are going to. Look at anything like how your bike is repatriated, and if it will be, does it cover you for accidents or just breakdown? You know, even things like, you know, okay, hopefully we won't have a catastrophic failure, but imagine that both of your tyres get multiple punctures and you cannot get to where you are going, so it is going to be essential. So as I say, there is number 10, good insurance, travel insurance, motorcycle insurance, and our breakdown cover. So guys, thank you for watching the first video in our touring series. What I will do is I'll be coming back and maybe doing some future videos about those 10 items in a bit more detail later on, and maybe little things that we have learnt along the way. Hope you've found that useful. Do you agree? Are they the top 10 tips that beginner motorcycle tourists should be following? If you've got other things that you think should be added to that top 10 list, or you have a different top 10 list, pop them in the comments. And if you want to see the future content we're going to be coming out with, so this year we are going to be adding some more touring hints and tips, we are going to be doing some more ride outs, and we've got a couple of tours planned. So if you'd like to see them, please like and subscribe. So remember, as always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and ride safe.